it's easy to blame the victim. It's easy to blame the victim. It's easy to say, well, you must have done something to bring that attention. In my videos recently, I have received a lot of negative comments. And I get it. I get that you cannot understand that there are those out there that really cannot comprehend what it must be like to live with, survive, be manipulated by a person who is intent on your demise or the zombie.
Here's my intro. Let me just erase that right there and go simple. My name, A-Z. No, I don't like that. Aziza Kibibi.
What's with victim blaming? I don't know who gathered or who got the idea that the person who suffers an abuse, a crime, a wrongdoing is the person that is responsible for it. In my videos recently, I have received a lot of negative comments. And I get it. I get that there are those out there that really cannot comprehend what it must be like to live with, survive, be manipulated by a person who is intent on your demise or the zombification of your mind, that who intentionally wants to use you for their own gratification and puts into action, intent, action, and focus to do that. My name is Aziza Kibibi, and I am an author, I'm an activist, a chef, a mom, and a survivor. I have experienced many years of abuse at the hands of my father, which resulted in 4 children for him. Actually, 5 pregnancies, 4 children. And I do a lot of videos on my channel bringing light to this other pandemic that is sexual abuse and domestic violence that riddles our society, that impacts the ability for the people in our world to function. And I do that by sharing my story. Now, I have done a lot of growing since I was 8 years old. I've done a lot of growing since I was 12 years old. I have done a lot of growing since I was 15 when I gave birth to my first child. And I have definitely done a lot of growing since I was 23 when I escaped my father. Now, I want to tell y'all one thing. My father could not do what he did alone. There were people that knew. My mother knew. She knew the whole time. There were people that he was close to that knew. There were other women that knew. So me, as a child, or anyone as a child, looking at all of these adults who are responsible and making money and providing food and shelter and everything else, not to mention the fact that you have little children, other siblings who you are attempting to protect. But there are all of these adults in your life. You tell me, how does one figure out a way to escape that situation? Now, if you do know, please share it, because guess what? 1 in 4 girls are molested before they turn 18. Therefore, there are millions of children still being abused. And if anybody has a message to those children on how to effectively escape their parent, their uncle, their grandparent, have the other people around them believe them and not look in at them like they're trying to get attention or making shit up, share. Please go down into the comments and share. Now, I am a survivor. I was a victim. Now I am a survivor. And that doesn't mean that these things do not still affect me. Oh, yes, they do. I still have nightmares. I still have anxiety attacks. I have to prepare myself mentally and in some cases physically to even make these videos. So I'm not claiming to be some perfect super person who just, got up one morning and was like, hey, I'm going to escape my father. No. Aziza, take a moment. It takes a woman, a grown woman who has more than likely grown up in society, who more than likely went to school, who more than likely has communication with her family members at least 7 times to effectively escape her abuser. And in addition to that, most women who are being abused, who are suffering from intimate partner violence, actually lose their lives in the process of escaping. That is when the abuser decides that they rather have this person, have their wife, have their girlfriend dead rather than leave them. Or they're just so insecure within themselves that they just have to have control over this person in their lives. It is while escaping. So I get it. Again, I get it. Aziza, as an enlightened, human, spiritual being having the human experience, I get that not everybody sees everything and is as open-minded as I am, or as open-minded as my children are, or as open-minded as my friends are. And I get they're going to go and they're going to judge and they're going to, say that, oh, well, you could have just told the doctor. Hello, I didn't have a doctor. Oh, you could have just told the nurse or your teacher. Hello, my teacher was my mom. To just do that and not even consider a perspective. And this is the issue that we have in our culture, in our society, that comes with victim blaming. Really, it is a manifestation of the weakness of a person who is hearing that situation and feels powerless in doing anything about it, rather than they actually offering some kind of support or taking some responsibility and contributing to our society. They rather take the easy route because, of course, the crazy person who is doing the molesting and the raping and the killing and the murder and everything else, we can't get into their heads. You can't get too close to them because you might go crazy yourself, honestly. So I get it's easy to blame the victim. It's easy to blame the victim. It's easy to say, well, you must have done something to bring that attention. It's easy to blame a woman out clubbing at night wearing a short skirt. It's easy to blame the child being fast. It's easy to say that, look, young lady, don't go and sit on your uncle's lap because, he's funny. It's easy to do that. That's the easy route. But you know what? The easy route gets nothing done. The easy route gets nothing done. We have to put our energy into what is difficult. And what is difficult is to try to put yourself in the position of a person who is in a situation that is affecting their spirit, affecting their mind, affecting their body, and help to pull them out of it. You can't do that if you're sitting there judging and blaming. Now, I get it. I've had 5 children from my father. That's another thing. I've had 5 children by my father. Yes, there have been many people in the comments talking about the conjunctions that I use, whether I use for or by. Okay, people, this is really semantics. These semantics are just so insignificant to the scope of what's really going on, to the ideas that I am actually trying to share, to the spark in your brain that I'm trying to start to say that, you know what, me as an individual in this world with billions of other people, I am actually or can be a conduit and a connection to the universe that might actually come up with an idea or way to stop these things from happening. Rather than do that, rather than open yourself up, you rather point fingers at everyone else, except the person that actually committed the crime, except the person that's actually doing the harm. What sense does that make? It makes no sense to me. And you know what? Maybe it is because I did not grow up in society and I was not experiencing the other form of brainwashing, which is peer pressure and caring what other people think. Maybe that's why that I could say, you know what, Aziza, here you are, you have this situation, you have these children, and it's better to just, whatever mistakes that some people may think you have made along the way, it's better to just say, you know what, forget all that. Don't care what people think. Just get out there and share your story and learn ways to prevent it from happening to others and do the work that you are here to do, because this work is hard. It is not easy. And I cannot claim that seeing the negative and getting the negative feedback does not have an effect. It does have an effect, because I am human. I'm going to be affected, but guess what? I know how to use the tools to let that shit bounce off of me. I do. So, for all the naysayers, for all the doubters, for the, dare I say, haters, the judgmental people who have minds that really is just too lazy to try and step out of themselves for a moment and put themselves in someone else's shoes. Thank you. Thank you for being the contrast. Thank you for being the lesson of what not to do. Because for all of those who are supportive of others, for all of those who love themselves enough to want to be some form of tool or want to help in some way, you have just, all of you haters, all of you naysayers, all you have done is shine light brighter on those who do have the strength and the power to do what needs to be done to stop this mess from happening to other people. So I want to get a little bit into the impacts of blaming the victim. Outside of myself, I've done a lot of self-work. I've done a lot of personal growth. So there are many survivors out there who have not done the work, or maybe doesn't know how to, or have not recognized the strength that they have and used it to either get out of their situation or grow from the negative effects of their trauma. And it is people who blame the victim, I lost my train of thought. It is those who blame the victim that creates an atmosphere that make survivors and victims afraid to speak out. It is those who do not believe. Can you believe 30% of adults won't believe a child if they disclose sexual abuse? That's way too much. That's way too much. There are women who are saying, young women specifically, women in their teenage years, girls, prepubescent girls, where something is happening to them, something that they're not really sure of, because we have to accept the fact that there are some abusers that are very seductive. And where the issue lies is that the power dynamic. They're using intimidation to seduce girls, and then they're taking advantage of them. It's still abuse, which is why a child should not be engaging in sexual activity, because their brains cannot comprehend what is happening with their bodies in order to make educated decisions on whether they should continue or not. So when you have an adult that is abusing a child, it is the adult's responsibility. It's all on the adult. Now, we'll use me as an example. I was 8 years old. I didn't know. My father told me otherwise, told me that it was good, told me it was fine, told me this is what everybody else was doing. And he planted seeds of self-doubt, because even though within myself I knew that I did not like what was happening, I had to question myself, because if daddy is saying that this is right, and if daddy is saying that this is what's supposed to be happening, then who am I, just an 8-year-old, just a 9-year-old, just a 10-year-old, to say that daddy is wrong? So we have that psychological conflict there. Then if you take an adolescent, there is the shame. How many boys call girls sluts? How many? Plenty. We live in a rape culture. We live in rape culture where women and girls are objectified. They are made to feel like their only value is to be the sexual object of a man. Instagram, social media shows girls that they need to look a certain way in order to be valued. So then if you have a girl and she is being taken advantage of sexually, let's not even get into the whole idea of being a virgin. That whole idea alone. So, and that's exactly what my father used. He told me that because he had raped me and I was no longer a virgin, that a man wouldn't want me. So I should be thankful that he wants to continue. And it makes me pure that he has had sex with me now. I'm not going to get into gruesome details. The other things that happen going down, you have to read my book, Unashamed of Life Tainted, for that. But trust, he got other people involved and then continued to use that against me. And when abusers groom children, and we're going to say groom women as well, adults, they feed and target on their insecurities. And we know as women, we have insecurities. I'm insecure about my belly. I have stretch marks. You know, being appealing to a man, for some reason there is this idea in this society that having a man or having the attention of a man validates women. I say do away with all that. You're going to have to ignore that. As a survivor, if you are being inflicted, if you are being victimized, you're going to have to ignore what society thinks in order to save yourself. That's what I had to do. I remember when I went to Social Security office, the Social Security office, to get my children's Social Security cards, because of course, since they were born at home, they had no Social Security cards. They had no birth certificates. I had to get all that myself. So I was very afraid to tell people that my father raped me. I was very afraid because my father had indoctrinated in me that people wouldn't believe me, one, and they would see me as damaged goods. I was very afraid. I stood up there in the Social Security office trying to go through the proper courses, the proper channels of filling out for a Social Security card, and it just was not working. And you know what happened? I broke down right there in the office, crying my eyes out, and told this woman everything. And she then pushed it through. I mean, she didn't push it through, but she called me in the back, realized that my situation was unique, and helped me to get Social Security cards for my children, even though I didn't have everything that was required, because guess what? My kids didn't go to school. They wasn't vaccinated. I didn't have any proof from anyone of their existence. And the same goes for the process of getting them birth certificates. I had to jump through hoops. And in doing that, I had to completely ignore the idea that people will shame me. And now here I am, years later, trying to help others on a media platform, using the skills that I paid money to develop to help other people. And there are people continuing to blame and place judgment. I mean, I don't know what to say. All I could say is that bless you, bless you, bless you. And I hope that whatever trauma that you have experienced that is making you deflect from your own stuff and point fingers at me or anyone else in your life, I really hope you get over that. And at the same time, I am very compassionate to anybody around you that may actually come to you for help, because the idea of placing judgment. I remember when I found out that my husband was cheating on me, and I told my grandmother, and I told my mother. You want to know what their first question was? Well, Aziza, what was you not doing that would make him cheat on you? Forget the fact that he, as a grown man in his mind, decided to sleep with my sister, nonetheless. What did I do? I wasn't asking for this. So, and the same goes for those who have been abused. They wasn't asking for it. We really have to change the mentality that because something happens to you, it means that you were deserving or you wanted it in some way. We really have to change that. And I'm going to tell you, for a good part of my childhood, I literally just accepted. I accepted, well, if God is making daddy do this to me, then it must be my purpose. Because if it's happening, what's the other explanation? Right? There's no other explanation in my child mind. But you know what I realize? One thing that we have as human beings, as spiritual beings having a human experience, we have the power to choose. Choices. And that is the agency that we have been given as people on this planet. We can make a choice. And my father made a choice. And my mother made a choice. And unfortunately, those choices tend to ricochet and they affect other people. But then what I did is, as I got older, as I'm raising my children, and I realized that I'm responsible responsible for 5 other lives, I had to make a choice. I could either choose to break down, or I could choose to break through. And I chose to break through. I chose to not allow what my father did to me control my life. And even now, I'm sure some may say, well, and which I have seen, well, now you're just making money off of YouTube and you're just selling your books and everything else. And honestly, and I have chosen to take something horrific and make it something positive. I have chosen to take shit and use it as fertilizer. And I am proud of myself for doing that. And I think that's what survivors have to do. They have to, the only opinion that really matters in this life is your own opinion of yourself. And you have to work on yourself mentally to get to the point that decides, you know what, you are the most important thing. You are above everything else. You're above everyone else. And how you feel about yourself and what you think about yourself is the only thing that matters. And then you can move forward. And that's the place that I'm at. Sometimes I digress. Sometimes I go backwards. Sometimes I'm like, you know what, I wonder why he did it. I wonder why she did it. And, you know, that's natural. That's a part of the process. Just like they say forgiveness, you have to forgive. Forgiveness is not a one-time deal. You have to keep forgiving. It's like a state of flux. It's a state of, you have to decide to not be responsible for the actions of someone else. And sometimes you may get pissed off. You may have a memory and oops, I kind of care again. I kind of am mad about that. I'm kind of blaming them. And then you have to then work back. And I get it. It's a process. It's a process. But practice makes perfect. As long as you progress, just keep progressing. If at first you don't succeed, try again. I'm going through all the freaking cliches. But one thing that I always say in all of my writing on my social media is I am a work in progress and I have progressed. And that's really what is important. You have to progress. So thank you for listening. Greetings to all my new subscribers. I had a moment, y'all. I'm just telling you. I had a moment. I just got off of doing a presentation for a high school here in my hometown. It came off very well. I went a little bit over my time, but it just had me thinking, all of these girls, all of these high school girls are in a place in their lives that they are questioning themselves, that hormones are running through their bodies and making them feel crazy, and they have to gain some kind of direction in their life. And like literally there could be somebody around that's like doing something to them, and I'm speaking about it, and I'm just thinking about all of the people that probably don't believe them, or all of the people that are probably judging them, and the fear and the guilt and the shame that they are feeling, because I have been there. I felt that. And if you watch one of my other videos, I talk about being afraid to tell my husband about what happened to me, or being afraid to tell anybody what happened to me, and the entire story, fairy tale that I've made up about it. So make sure you check that out. And on that note, I'm gonna say be blessed, for you are a blessing. Thank you again to all of my subscribers. If you have not subscribed, you know what to do. Click that bell so you can be notified for when I do follow-up videos. I'm going to post some videos now. Well, not now. I'm going to post some videos soon with my children. They're not really kids anymore, but you know, we go family stuff. And I think that it is important for me to show that even though we as a family have survived some really just craziness in our lives, that in many ways we're still like a lot of the people that we know, the people that we're around, or like you know, we have fun. Like, how can we, it would be dumb for us to sit and dwell on the challenges that we've had. My children made it through foster care. Like, come on. And we know some of the horrors that we've heard about foster care, which I was deathly afraid of that they would go through. And separation anxiety. Our family was all that they knew when they were taken. This is life, y'all. This is life. It's definitely a wild ride. Maybe that's why I like roller coasters. But anyway, thank you again. Thank you again. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Be blessed, for you are a blessing. Bye.
But you got me begging. All I know about you, you like to pick and choose. Make it all about you. Go take it all if you want. Taking the chance, stuck in my head, not gonna leave it at that. Taking the lead, feeling your heat, just